So a whole lot of problems there for UPA-II, but what really changed for the Prime Minister between 2004 and between 2009 and 2014? Let's just go to our guests and ask them that. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Congress MP, also Prakash Javadekar of the BJP. In studio we have Ashok Malik, senior journalist, commentator, and from Mumbai, Kumar Ketkar, another senior journalist. If I can start with you, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, would you admit that perhaps one of the biggest differences between the last term and this time round is that while previously the Congress High Command had openly declared Dr Manmohan Singh as the prime ministerial candidate for the next election, that hasn't happened yet?
No, I don't think so at all. I totally disagree. But let me start by saying that when I deny a lot of the comments and a lot of the criticism which you find on the channel, it is not to suggest that we are arrogant, that we are complacent, that we are not aware of the limitations, external and internal, that we are not aware of the mid-course corrections we need and which we have done. So whatever I say is based on, to the extent possible, on fact and with a full amount of humility and understanding. It is not that we don't introspect. The Congress does it more than any other party. Second, that is hardly the reason which you are mentioning. What is but natural, this is the second preliminary point you must understand, is that a 9-year-old government is bound to have a certain amount of anti-incumbency. And I don't think it's wrong also to assume that the atmospherics, not the substance, not the reality, but a certain amount of perception has been generated by constant nitpicking, disruption, and constant chanting of this corruption mantra by the opposition. Having said these two preliminary points, let me conclude by saying that the Janta of this country does not get so easily fooled. They understand and look at the substance, a litany of acronyms, a set of economic, social welfare and mind-changing social programs never before in the history of India, even by previous Congress governments.
I want to just interrupt you, Mr. Manu Singh.
And I think the people of India do look at that and they do appreciate that.
I think you're talking about generically about the government, but we are speaking specifically about the Prime Minister. And don't you think that the fact that in recent past, in the recent days, we've also had the problem, what's changed now is that you have your own colleagues talking and dismissing the dual power center. You also have your own colleagues on Twitter, going on Twitter to say that, to criticize the Prime Minister and say if Pawan Bansal had been sacked earlier, it would have saved the government a lot of trouble. So it's criticism and in public. So obviously in the recent days he's been targeted by your own people. So that's the difference.
First of all, the definitive statement from the party is what matters. Not once but twice in the last 3 weeks, official signed statements of the Congress head of the media department have come saying that this is all press speculation, this is all idle talk, there is absolutely no disconnect.
Not about the delay in resignation,
on behalf of the party, on behalf of the government.
Not about the delay in
Number
sacking.
One. No. Look, the Congress is a large democratic party. Different people express views. That is not to say, let me tell you that in 2004 when we came to power, within first 3 months, please rewind, you had these stories all over which continued for 3 or 4 years. The remote control theory, the disconnect, the date of imminent fall of the UPA-I was designated from 3 months onwards, every 3 months, September 30th, January 1st, etc. because of the disconnect between Ms. Sonia Gandhi and Dr Manmohan Singh. It is soon that people realize that this is an astonishingly good arrangement where there is complete rapport on the contrary. And as they say, the stories of my demise are highly exaggerated. The stories of the change of Prime Minister are repetitive, frequent, only by vested interests. Rahul Gandhi has said so many times, Sonia Gandhi ji has said so many times, and the official Congress party has statement has said so many times. There is no vacancy in the Prime Minister's post. He is the Prime Minister and shall be the Prime Minister till we go to the elections in 2014.
Okay, interesting you say that, because again in that, but I'll come back to you for that on how this time then only saying till 2014. Mr. Javadekar, what would you say is the biggest difference? Do you think in this term, in between 2009 and 2014, you got a lot of helping hand from the anti-corruption activists, the civil society members like Anna Hazare?
No, but let us not differentiate between UPA-I and II, because UPA-I was very bad. As you know, the coal scam, which is now being discussed and has come to a fore, is actually the doing in 2006 and 2009.
Yes.
So And it was the Prime Minister who was the coal minister signing every allotment of the coal blocks in a non-transparent way and arbitrarily.
I know, sir,
So
but it's
this
just come out now. The news has just come out during UPA-II. I think that's what we are trying to get at.
Okay, but that was our complaint which CVC forwarded to CBI, and now the rest is the history.
Yes, that's the point.
The issue is, but the issue here is that the first UPA or the second UPA betrayed the mandate given by the people. In the first, it was bad governance, and in the second UPA, it was the worst. So what now people are disgruntled about, or why they are dissatisfied all over, is because it is complete absence of vision, it's complete absence of direction, it's complete absence of leadership. See, he is in office, but he is not in power. That dichotomy needs to be understood, and country is paying through noses. The economist Prime Minister has failed in managing the economy and taming the inflation. After the financial meltdown world over, the food prices are in the region of 2 to 4%. But in our country, it is between 10% to 20% hovering around. It's an unacceptable thing.
Okay.
It is not, that means economics is not working for Manmohan Singh. Therefore, I always feel that Manmohan Singh as finance minister under Narasimha Rao was more effective than Manmohan Singh as Prime Minister under Sonia Gandhi.
Interesting criticism there in the seat, but not in Par. Kumar Ketkar, Prakash Javadekar, they are completely dismissing both UPA-I and UPA-II. But why do you think perhaps many more people are just not convinced that UPA-II, to use the Prime Minister's own phrase, they are not convinced of the animal spirit?
Well, actually, Mr. Javadekar has contradicted himself so hugely, because if UPA-I was bad and it was bad governance, then how come the people voted from 145 seats in 2004 to 206 to 206 in 2009? Point number one. Point number two, in the last phase of 2004 government, in 2008, there were two issues that dominated the psyche of the people. One was the Indo-US deal, to which the CPM and the left and the BJP both were opposed, and some others were also opposed. And second was the 2611. At that time, it was shown that the government has no concern with the security, and the government has no concern with the foreign policy, as the Indo-US deal showed. So, if the government had failed on these two major counts, and if there was bad governance from 2004 to 2009, how the people voted as many as 206
So what happened in
Parliament
2009 then, do you think?
And therefore,
in UPA-II?
No, UPA-II 2009 onwards actually is paying for many of the acts of omission between 2004 and 2009. I don't think particularly anything bad has happened. Corruption is there. Nobody has denied corruption. Corruption is not a new phenomenon. It may have increased slightly scale or decreased slightly scale. In 1973, the only issue that Jayaprakash Narayan fought was corruption. In 1989, the only issue on which VP Singh campaigned was corruption. So I don't think corruption in itself is a new phenomenon which India has seen.
But we
and I think therefore, therefore point is, no, Javadekar has to answer why 2004.
Yeah, I will answer.
No, I will go back to him, Mr. Ketkar. We will go back to him.
No.
I just want to.
Sunitra, the point is the so-called clean character people of the BJP party, with the difference, actually reduced its number of seats between 2004 and 2009.
No.
They were 137 in 2004.
Okay.
So I think if it was bad governance in UPA-I, then how come people voted it?
No, we'll give
Yes,
Prakash Javadekar an opportunity to explain that and counter that in just a bit. But first, let's just bring the discussion back to the Prime Minister, and we're talking not just generically about 2006 UPA-I and UPA-II. We're also talking about what happened to the Prime Minister's image over there. Ashok Malik, would you like to comment on, the Prime Minister was called because everyone saw him as personally honest and all. When did that start? Do you think, first of all, that has got eroded immensely, as some people have pointed out, and what led to that?
Look, I think the principal difference is not corruption or inflation, both of which are very pressing and important issues by themselves. It is that in UPA-I, the economy was growing at 8.5%. When the economy is growing at 8.5%, you feel good about yourself. You can frankly tolerate a bit of corruption or a bit of inflation as well. When it's growing at 5.5%, it just becomes intolerable.
No, how does it get linked to the Prime Minister's image is what I'm
asking.
Well,
the Prime Minister In 2004, when the Prime Minister came to power, he was not elected. It was a bit of a fluke victory. In 2009, it was a comprehensive victory for the Congress and for the Prime Minister, especially in 50-odd urban seats, which the Prime Minister more or less swung for the Congress. And he was seen as a technocratic man, a well-meaning man, a man who was willing to stake his government for the nuclear deal and who meant well for India and its economy and its future. That promise of 2009 has been completely sort of almost betrayed.
That promise, and do you think those questions, perhaps it started with the 2G scam and revelations when people said that, you know, those letters, series of letters and things.
His office, and its effort to isolate him or sequester him from the 2G scam and the coal swindle, which he was directly in charge of, because I'm not saying he made money there, but he was coal minister at the end of the day. Certainly that has affected perceptions. Overall, the fact that India gave him such a strong mandate in 2009 for a spurt in the economy, and that spurt hasn't happened. Jobs haven't been created. Economic growth has declined, and that has hurt people.